Before the sun rises over a muddy English field in August 1485, a man wakes knowing the world may end before nightfall. The air is cold and smells of damp earth and horse sweat. Somewhere beyond the tents, steel is being sharpened, prayers are being whispered, and fear moves quietly from body to body like a living thing. This man is a king, but also a son, a brother, a husband, and a human being who has spent his entire life walking through shadows, cast by other people's ambitions. His name is Richard, third of that name to wear England's crown, and history will remember him not for the feel of the morning air on his skin, or the weight of armor on tired shoulders, but as a monster, a villain, a crooked-backed tyrant whispered about in dark corridors. Yet in this moment, before banners rise and blood is spilled, Richard is simply a man standing at the edge of fate, wondering whether truth will survive him or be buried with his bones. King Richard III is one of the most argued over figures in English history, a man whose reputation has been shaped less by what he certainly did, and more by what later generations needed him to be. He lived in an age where loyalty was fragile, power was seized by force, and survival often demanded cruelty. To understand Richard, one must step into a world where childhood was short, death was common, and the crown itself was both prize and curse. He was born in 1452 into the violent storm of the Wars of the Roses, a civil conflict that tore England apart as two branches of the royal family, York and Lancaster, fought for control. Richard did not choose this world. It was chosen for him before he could speak. His father, Richard, Duke of York, was a powerful nobleman with a claim to the throne, and his mother, Cecily Neville, came from one of the most influential families in England. Richard was the fourth surviving son, small, sickly, and often overlooked in a family of strong, ambitious men. From an early age, he learned that survival meant loyalty to blood above all else. When he was just 8 years old, his father and older brother were killed in battle, their heads displayed publicly by their enemies. Imagine the effect of that on a child. The knowledge that power could vanish in an instant and that mercy was a rare and dangerous luxury. This was the soil in which Richard's character grew. As a boy, Richard was sent away from court to be raised in the household of the Earl of Warwick, a kingmaker whose shifting loyalties would define the war. There, Richard learned discipline, governance, and the harsh reality that trust was conditional. He was not groomed to be king. He was groomed to serve, to fight, and to obey his elder brother Edward, who would eventually become King Edward IV. Richard proved himself loyal beyond question. While Edward enjoyed the pleasures of kingship, Richard became his most dependable supporter, governing the north of England with efficiency and fairness that even his enemies later acknowledged. He earned a reputation as a just administrator, someone who listened to common people's complaints and enforced law in a land long abused by powerful nobles. Physically, Richard was different. Modern examination of his skeleton confirms that he had scoliosis, a curvature of the spine, but not the grotesque deformity later propaganda described. He was not the twisted creature of legend. He was a capable warrior, strong enough to fight on horseback and on foot, leading charges and risking his life repeatedly. The exaggeration of his body became a symbol used by enemies to suggest a twisted soul, because in Richard's time, physical difference was often believed to reflect moral corruption. This cruel logic would follow him into history books and onto the stage. Richard married a Neville, a woman whose life was as shaped by war as his own. She had been widowed young, used as a political prize, and moved like a chess piece between powerful men. Their marriage appears to have been one of mutual understanding rather than romance, built on shared loss and shared endurance. Together they had a son, Edward, and for a brief moment, Richard's life seemed stable. He was a loyal brother, a capable duke, a husband, and a father. There is no evidence from this period that he hungered for the crown. Power, for him, was a duty carried carefully, not a prize seized recklessly. Everything changed in 1483 when King Edward IV died suddenly. The throne passed to his 12-year-old son, Edward V, and Richard was named Lord Protector, charged with governing until the boy came of age. This was the moment when Richard stepped onto the narrow bridge between loyalty and ambition, a bridge greased with fear, suspicion, and political necessity. England was unstable. The young king was surrounded by his mother's family, the Woodvilles, who were widely resented by the old nobility. Many feared civil war would erupt again. Richard may have believed, perhaps sincerely, that only strong, immediate control could prevent chaos. What followed remains one of the greatest mysteries in English history. Richard declared that Edward IV's marriage had been invalid, making his children illegitimate. Parliament accepted this claim, and Richard was crowned king. The two young princes, Edward V and his brother Richard, Duke of York, were housed in the Tower of London and then vanished from public view. Their disappearance has haunted Richard's name for over 5 centuries. Were they murdered? If so, by whom? Richard has long been blamed, but no contemporary evidence proves he ordered their deaths. Accusations came later, mainly from those who benefited from his fall. It is equally possible that they were killed by someone else or died of illness. History, cruelly, offers no certainty. Once king, Richard ruled for just over 2 years. But in that time, he enacted reforms that suggest a ruler concerned with justice. He made the legal system more accessible to ordinary people, limited abuses of power by nobles, and encouraged the use of English rather than French in legal proceedings. These actions do not erase the darkness surrounding his rise, but they complicate the simple image of a tyrant. He was capable of mercy and fairness, even while ruling in an age where executions and betrayal were political tools. Richard's reign was plagued by rebellion. Many could not accept him as king, either because of loyalty to the princes or because they saw opportunity in his isolation. Henry Tudor, a distant claimant with a weak claim but strong ambition, became the focus of resistance. Richard faced loss after loss, including the death of his only son, which devastated him personally